We don't have intros for this because I don't feel like doing intros. Actually, I don't even feel like doing this. Hold on, I didn't even plug in yet, so I sound distant. I told everybody last week after the show I didn't want to do this. I was talked into doing it, and then nobody showed up. So that's good.
You mean one person?
No, you guys all said you wanted to do it. You're like, oh, we got to keep it going. People like,
no, even if we get one view, it's still a view.
We know we're going to get one view because one of the other people that was saying they wanted to do it was Ruben, and he's here. So we know we're getting one view. It's not worth one view for me because I'm exhausted today.
This is Dwayne Scott. Yeah, you see?
Here, through it anyways. Unfortunately, Wayseeker won't be able to join us. I guess if Ruben had time and wasn't working, we could just have Ruben join us. And then we could have no views, and it would be great. Oh, no, Dwayne Scott's there. Hey, Dwayne Scott. Join us, too. We could just have everybody join us. All right, I don't know if we're going to go over the 5 questions because it doesn't really matter to this one. I guess there's a couple of questions that we can go over real quickly, kind of keeping it spoiler-free. I assume all 3 of you have watched the show, so if that's a no, just say no. We're not going to really spoil it, but I think there's one thing that we have to get out of the way, pretty much the format on how the storytelling was occurring, because I think that'll explain Darth Negativity's scoring on all this.
Partly.
So this episode, it was one gigantic time leap in the past.
16 years.
16 years.
Which is interesting, because if this is 100 years, and now we're almost at like 120 years.
Yeah, if you think about it, yeah.
Long time. Also, too, I don't know how kids grow in space, but apparently they don't grow as fast as they do here. Because them kids were like 12, and then like 16 years, they'd be 20 something, 30.
Yeah.
I mean, those young ladies didn't look like they were like 30 years old when we saw them in the first thing. But we got the twin actresses as children there. So, yeah, we got them as children. Can't help yeah, for sure. So it was all flashback. So it looks like, or whatever time back. So it looks like that they.
Do we have a Wayseeker who was completely wrong graphic?
There's a lot of wrong. Hold on. First off, there's a lot of wrong.
He said there wasn't going to be flashbacks this week.
I would like to say that half the panel was wrong. Don was wrong with some stuff that he said early on. Yeah. And then Wayseeker was wrong.
Yeah.
Huh?
Said we're mostly wrong, but I was just talking about the flashback portion.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, the flashback thing, whatever. Well, which is good because it leaves the next 2 episodes. Can we talk about that without spoiling anything? JJ, I know that you hate flashbacks in general.
Look at Ruben.
They are twins.
They are twins. They're identical.
In real life.
Identical?
In real life, they are, Ruben.
Yeah, they're pretty identical. Yeah, I had trouble telling them apart because even the captioning wasn't telling you at certain parts. That was one. If we want to get into it, that was one problem I had with the episode a little bit, especially early on, was they dressed them alike the entire time.
But you can tell the faces.
And at that age, by the way,
between the two, but
somebody who's in the twin life, that doesn't happen unless your parents are fucking weirdos, especially at that age.
Yeah,
like when they're little kids, I get it, but like by that time they start getting their personalities. Yeah. There is a lot like that though in the twin universe. Just there is a lot of how they portray the kids. See, that's where I'm saying, like, unfortunately for people that dislike this because of some of the gimmicks that they dislike, like, I'm not putting words in your mouth, a Darth Negativity, but usually if it has anything to do with flashbacks, which is fine because anything with musicals I dislike, you just don't like that style.
Well,
and this is a giant flashback, so I would assume you don't have many positive things to say about this episode. However, they don't look identical. Ruben, they're fucking identical twins. They looked identical. What are you talking about?
No, you could actually tell them apart. They didn't have really the
I could not tell them apart very well at all.
The facial features were different. If you look,
the only way I could tell them apart was a little bit that one would kind of smirk and one wouldn't smirk, and you could kind of figure out in the scene.
You could see it a little bit in the lips, and you could also see in the contrast, the color, the color of theirs. The color,
but like the tone. If anybody was like me, for part of it, like I could not tell them apart. That,
but there are points too that you couldn't. So I think it might have been a lighting issue because in the beginning, the first sequence scene, I had to watch it twice because the one said the other's name, and I was like, wait, who did you say? Because they were, I mean, it's a lot of up close. It's a lot of makeup probably that they put on these kids. So I'm not going to try to judge kids.
You can't tell sometimes too because one has their back turned, one doesn't have their back.
Yeah.
Like,
And I mean, they did their. I think what you're saying, as far as they did their costumes the same and their hair was identical, which is fine. And like, I don't know, dude.
But the problem is, it's hard for the viewer to tell them apart when you don't have anything. Like when you're filming a scene with twins like that and they're dressed alike and like that. Usually, half the time it's for comedic effect because, like you said, that doesn't really happen in real life that much. But the other part of it is you have to do something, and they did it on a couple scenes, but in a couple scenes they missed it. You have to do something to establish who's who in the scene, otherwise the audience has no idea.
Kingdom of Nerds. I'm not trying to do this. I'm only doing it because you say, Dom, do you understand the hairstyle now? I'm kind of asking what I do not want to, because are you saying what they're called, the style of hair that they have? Is that what you're saying?
Is he talking about the bangs?
No, I think there's a certain type of. It's not a braid what they have. I think that's what he's referring to. I don't know.
Listen,
I don't think any of us here are qualified to talk on that.
Because the whole fact is that you could actually
one doesn't have hair, another one, and then so my hair's wavy.
They just be like Verdestra and give them no hair.
Yeah.
Look, you could tell them apart. If you look at the kid, if you look at them, I was telling them apart. They have different features in their faces.
Okay, fine. You can tell them apart. I couldn't.
They're still twins. Who gives a shit? What are we talking about here?
And regardless of the fact, look, he said, "Oh, it's weird. They didn't look alike." Fucking Luke and Leah were twins, so-called twins. They didn't look alike either. So,
they weren't identical twins because you can't be identical if you're a boy and a girl.
But this she's playing both parts. They had to find two kids that actually looked alike.
I mean, in real life, I saw a picture of them in real life. They sure look like identical twins in real life. I don't think I was staring at the kids enough to like.
All twins have a subtle difference, anyways.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, this is. What the fuck are we doing?
I don't know what we're debating here.
You guys are keeping me on the internet for this? Like, no. Okay, so let's go back to this whole episode of flashback. But what I'll say is they packed a lot of information in there, and from the appearance, and this is the question I have for you: would you think that this is all-inclusive? Fill in the backstory on these characters so we can see some of the. So we can feel what's going for stuff they alluded in the first two episodes, so that we don't have to keep going back and forth.
No,
so this is
it brought up more questions than it answered. I don't think
I understand it brought more questions, but what I'm saying is this the last flashback? Did they do it just one episode flashback instead of piecing it out like they did with the back of Tank?
No.
In Boba Fett,
no,
or do you feel that
they did one whole episode and they did one whole episode in Boba Fett and they still pieced it out?
Did they do a whole episode? But wasn't that after they started piecing it out?
The Tusken episode was in flashback. The entire episode.
Yeah. I actually think what they're going to do with this, if they do if they need more flashbacks, they'll start filling in the pieces that you didn't see in this. Like when you start the pieces.
Yeah, that's what they're going to flashback to, like to reveal the mysteries, so to speak, in this mystery. They'll flashback to do that,
and you're going to see why. They're going to see a different point of view when that's if certain things that happened really happened through that perspective. So there'll probably be little pieces here and there, but I think it's going to move forward.
I'm not sure. I think it's moving forward too, because I think they've already referenced the flashback in the first two episodes. Yep. So I think, and they did a very good job of it. They gave us the information we needed. They kind of clarified a couple items easily. Was it like extremely action packed? No. Did it leave some questions? Like the question Joe's asking, like probably everybody's asking about the end. I think it still does leave it there, but that's part of this mystery that we're supposed to be figuring out anyways.
Yeah, but when you say clarify, I think it brought up more questions than it does answers. I don't think it clarified anything.
No.
Actually, well, for reasons I can't say because it'll be too spoilery, but it made things more confusing from the aspect of why they think certain things happen in episode 1 and 2.
Right.
When they clearly see in episode 3 that didn't happen.
Well, I'm not sure everybody didn't. I'm not sure that everybody saw the same thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? I can't say it. We'll talk about it on Sunday, but I'm not sure by that everybody didn't see the same thing. Number 2, we saw something clearly on the screen that did not happen. And we know that because by the end of this episode. So I think they're doing that to show us a POV, kind of like Dom said. You see it from different POVs. Now, are we going to have flashbacks to see other people? I don't think so. Well, I definitely don't think so because two of the people, obviously, spoiler alert for episode 1 and 2. But if you are watching a reaction to episode 3, you've probably watched episode 1 and 2 at this
I
point.
would hope.
But two of the people are dead. We saw two Jedi Masters, or Jedi Master and a Jedi Knight, die in the first episode. So, I mean, very interesting stuff. I will also say this: I did like the pacing because I think the pacing's on point. They gave us one in sync episode. They showed once again a decent amount of parts that we saw in the trailer. I don't even know how much. Maybe I'll try to review the trailer again to see how much is left. There can't be much of that trailer left because between these 3 episodes, they pretty much.
No,
The
but
first
there's some
question
stuff in the trailer.
The first question I have to all of this is, we haven't even technically finished the flashback yet. At the end of the episode, you're still in the flashback. So does this episode continue? Does this flashback continue into the next episode?
I don't think so.
No, I think it's done. I think the final scene of this episode was, and what kind of was said was the point. Like, I understand what you're saying. It's still a mystery thriller, so we're still going to have. They're just going to keep caking on to the mystery. It's Clue, man, till the end, right? Like, we're going to get that.
The mystery
So I don't think they're going to.
I don't think the mystery is separate from the flashback. What I'm saying is, you're still in the time of the flashback. They haven't even gone back to the present at the end of this episode.
Yes,
So
correct.
They're going to go back.
But I think next episode they're going to start in the present. I think that's where they're going. I think that's why they didn't go there now, so that they could. I think they gave us a whole. What I'm saying is, even with Boba Fett, I thought there was a little intro where he did the flashback. He started into a flashback because he was in a tank or whatever, pulled out at the end. I think this one was how they shot it, and this is why, once again, I said I like the pacing. I like how they shot it. I think it was a fully inclusive episode where they gave us everything they're going to give us. They're telling us, hey, we know you were maybe, a little bit lost between the first 2 episodes. Had a couple beers there. But you might have been a little bit lost there. We want to keep the mystery going. However, we want to give you a little bit here. We want to give you a little bit of the backstory, right? Because we don't want you to keep aimlessly creating stupid videos that is going to attract Dom to watch. We want to get that out of the way, get this stuff out of the way where you might have these questions. And that way we can focus back on the Kaiser Sose type story that we're telling. And I feel if you do that, much like the usual suspects, that we might get story going forward again now at this point, at least for episode 5. 4, I would hope that we get a little bit of somebody in the village, maybe the episode that Wayseeker was hoping for instead of drawing novel fan art. But it's only 8. It looks like we got it. I think we've been so scarred by the Dave Filoni error that we're like sitting on edge and going, oh fuck, here it comes. We're going to have another flashback. Oh shit, we're going to have no storytelling. He's only going to have 3 episodes worth watching in a 16 episode thing, right? Is that what it is? Are we that scarred at this point?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think we're scarred. I just think that, we're looking at the point that, with the content, we want the content to move forward. The flashbacks kind of hold the story from progressing in a way that we want, but the flashbacks do have some meaning depending on how you do the flashback. Like this flashback was definitely meaningful to show you what happened. Like what was the reason why May is what she's doing. And there's still some tidbits that they
didn't even really give. Well, again, it gets too spoilery to get in there, but they didn't really get into why May is May. They just got into the fact that she's. I don't know.
No, I think they did.
The evil twin.
Well, they gave you that.
Nugget, but that's not the reason.
Well, I don't think but you don't need the reason. It could be. I don't want to spoil it either, but like in Twin, like I think this is tough.
Like I get the yin yang thing. If that's what you're going at.
That's what I'm saying.
I get it.
I think they're just showing us that the twins were different. They were always different. The twins were always different.
But they're different now in the present. Of course, they're different in the past.
Well, maybe because that they didn't tell us that, and people didn't know that. No, I think JJ, I don't think you can naturally. I mean, you're saying like, yeah, well, obviously, yeah, but like,
I find it weird that
there,
May just kind of flipped that switch to psychopathedness.
Well,
no, she didn't. You missed something.
Listen, there,
you missed something. Then you need to go back and watch it over again.
You have to look at it this way: the way the witches portray the Force.
Nope. Don't go there.
Stop. No. I'm not saying
we're getting too close into spoilers.
No. I'm just saying. So that, all right.
No, stop. All of us are getting too close into spoilers because I just said something that I shouldn't have said. Darth Negativity just said you should have said. What I'm saying is, I understand what you're saying, JJ. I think you missed a couple things. This might be an episode where there's small nuggets that we have to go back to. This was not rocket science. This was not breaking new ground. This was telling us, believe what you saw in the first 2 episodes, and here is the reason why. It's very clear. I don't think there's a ton of like, oh, gotcha moments. There might be 1 or 2, but I think a lot of this is we're just reinvesting in the first 2 episodes, and we're going to give you the reasons why. I think they clearly, I don't think a switch changed in somebody. I don't think that's the case, especially if you watch the beginning. Especially if you watch the first.
I think that was her personality all along, but
agreed.
I mean, the fact that, well, you can't go to, like, we'll get more to it Sunday, I guess. I can't go too much into it because of spoilers, but there's certain scenes in there where either it was the writing or the acting or the directing or both, but there's no nuance to it whatsoever.
I'll be honest with you, JJ. I have twins, and I spent a lot of time in with.
I'm not talking about the twins thing. I'm not talking about like the arguing like sisters and stuff like that. I get that. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about the.
Again, okay, we'll talk about. Yeah, we'll talk about it.
I'll spoil a major story point if I get too far into it.
Yeah. What I'm just saying is, like, I thought it all played fine, just to get you to a point where we didn't waste time. Because I bet you, if you guys would have, if they would have continued on to do other stuff, we would have gotten filler out of it. I didn't feel it was a filler episode. I'm not saying that it's the greatest piece of work.
Hey, Marco, I'm sorry. Look at John's thing. The writing isn't good. I think it's done like that on purpose. I think it's good writing. I think the way they're doing it is making it a point where it's throwing people off.
I think he's being sarcastic. Dude.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, no, I don't think he is.
Well, JJ, I mean, yeah, you don't think anything. I mean, JJ, one day you're going to.
I think John with that comment is not being sarcastic. John
I don't know, because he makes both comments sometimes where he thinks something is or isn't. Like he double backs on himself sometimes. So I don't, whatever. But like, my point being is, like, I get it, JJ. You're never gonna. I mean, you do it to yourself. You put dark negativity.
It's not that. That's what you use to dismiss an opinion all the time. It's not
maybe.
I know how writing works. I know how pacing works. I know how team works.
I get. No.
You're against everything.
Well, when was the last thing you thought was good, JJ? Then.
What did I rate the first 2 episodes of this?
Yeah, you said it was pretty good, right?
Right.
Lowest score, but still, yeah. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, but have you ever once you've self-admitted
I thought Obi-Wan was better than you thought Obi-Wan was, but
so yeah, that's true. Okay, but I gave that the lowest ranking of all time. I'm very different in all my rankings. My point being, like, I didn't expect you to like this episode because of the flashbacks. However, you could give it a ranking. What do you think overall of the episode here?
Somewhere between 2.5 or 3, maybe 3.
Okay. And I really don't think that's bad. Actually, that's where I'm actually
average.
thinking it's pretty high.
I didn't say it was an awful thing, but yeah.
No, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying. I guess my biggest complaint. Who the hell's blowing up the personal chat right now?
No idea. Not
the only Corbin. All right. The only thing I'm saying is this: some episodes we can have just to give us information, like this episode was. And 3, it's going to be like 3's not a bad score out of 5. It means that it's just a little bit average or above average. So that's pretty good. I mean,
they did things well. They did things not so well, in my opinion.
Yeah, fair enough. That's fair. But I think part of this episode, we need to see what the outcome is, the payoff. If there's no episode, and you know how I always am, JJ, because I am like this, because you always give me a hard time about it. Positive in the beginning because I'm waiting to see what the things do for the payoff, and then we don't get the payoff, right?
Mhm.
And I think like this is kind of where I am with this episode too. Dom, what do you have on this episode?
I give it a 3.5. I give it 3.5. It was really a. I don't know the point of showing the flashback after they talked about it in the first 2 episodes, but I can understand why they had the flashback to show it on screen to give more depth on what happened. So 3.5 is a good thing for me for what I enjoyed the episode. I didn't think it was a slow pace. I thought it was, it was paced well, and the visuals were. I like like I said, the visuals were great on it. So
yeah. So I typically say just give it for whatever. I guess I got to preface the score. I went back and watched multiple parts of it this week, unlike last week where I just watched it. I know we're supposed to just watch it once, but as I said, I'm tired, whatever. So I went back to watch multiple things, and because I watched it a couple parts, 3 or 4 parts, twice, I have it maybe at a 4 because I feel a little stronger of the direction that it's going because I noticed a couple of things. Now, if the payoff, once again, as I was saying with JJ, if it's not true and the payoff doesn't come through, then I think it's gonna. It could be, could lead down to a wasted episode later down the line.
Yeah,
but even if it's a wasted episode, I think it was still. There was some very interesting tid points in there. They played, or they there was some callbacks that they did that were pretty well done. Probably better done than we saw them the first time, to be honest with you. Which that's why I like, if they're going to do a callback, do it better, right? And I think you guys know what scene I'm talking about. But there was a pretty big callback, and then and I don't know what you guys thought about that callback, but I thought they did a better job with it there than they did before. And then I thought just like overall they were telegraphing some stuff, and then they were like purposely telegraphing us that they weren't telegraphing stuff, which I thought I thought, okay, like it works to a diverse crowd, right?
Yeah. So I always remember the first line that we see when Saul's talking to the kids, and was it the first episode? I'm pretty sure he's talking to the kids.
Sure.
The first episode, and he's talking to the kids, and he literally tells the viewer what you should be expecting, which is you trust your eyes too much, don't trust your eyes.
Yeah, sure.
That's the theme of the show, more or less. I think at this point, it can break either way. It could break, and maybe the question is, we're at this weird point where the question to me is whether or not these subtle nuggets we think we're picking up are subtle nuggets, like you said. Is that going to actually pay off or something, or is that just something we're building in our own minds?
In our own minds, yeah.
If it pays off, then they've written a great twist.
Well,
if it becomes this more straightforward argument, then we kind of spent 40 minutes here meandering about in something that could have taken half the time to tell us, type of thing. So.
Maybe, but if they Kaiser Sose us too, I won't have a problem with it. Like, as long as it makes sense.
But the twist has to make sense. Yeah, the twist.
Yes, as long as what I'm saying is, if this episode now that we just saw turns into fucking Tusken Raiders in which, by the way, I didn't have a problem with the Tusken Raider episode either. So but it eventually was the cause of the demise of my commentary towards the rest of the Book of Fett. So I do think, even though they aren't hyping this episode as an important episode, I would say that this is fundamentally the beginning to the hill of the climax. And if you do not start your trip out properly, and then you're wondering why you fucking have no food halfway up the mountain and have to eat your buddies, well, that's on you at the beginning. You fucked that up, right? Yeah. Well, whatever, dude. I mean, I'm just saying. So, honor party of one. I'm just saying.
Okay, so I can do this without getting too spoilery, because I'm going to use Book of Boba Fett to say it. You have the Tusken episode, which is like that all flashback episode, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And like you said, you get down the line, and there seemingly was a payoff to that through the thing, because it kind of told us, oh, well, that's Boba Fett's new mentalities because of this time with the Tuskens. But what do they do later in that series with the twist? What's the twist later in that series? Anybody remember?
What was the twist later in that series? No.
You find out via Cad Bane and the Pikes that the Pikes did it all. And it wasn't really, Boba never really got his revenge like he thought he got.
Yeah.
That was the twist.
which they took it away from, which is stupid.
Exactly, that threw away that entire meaning of that episode, more or less, in a way.
Yeah, like
if
I
they
don't
do something like that here. That's when I have a problem with this long exposition of flashback where you're supposed
here's
to feel
the
certain
thing.
things.
Here's what I don't mind though. If May is May and Osha is Osha, and at the end of the series, May is May and Osha is Osha, and they are what they are, I'm still going to be okay with it. Because then I'm going to be like, I read too far into shit and made stuff up in my own head, but at least it got me engaged with the TV show. That's different than the Book of Fett, where all of a sudden he's having flashback and back.
Well, as I said, like,
yeah,
it's
oh, Jesus Christ! Stop talking about Boba Fett. It's getting me annoyed just thinking about.
sorry.
Jesus Christ!
No, but that's why, like, that's why I guess I'm giving this as a 4, is because, like, I think I don't think I'm not saying this to you, JJ, but I actually think this is actually a high ranking for you, and I think Dom's right on point too. But I can see where people will get upset about this because A1, it hasn't helped out whatever they thought this was going to be, or 2, they get really invested in their theories early on. Listen, if my theory of the fuck was my theory? I even forgot my theory. That's how important it was.
Fight Club theory.
Oh, my Fight Club theory is wrong. Even if it's wrong, I don't care as long as as long as the story makes sense. That's not what we've had, excluding Andor. That isn't quite what we've been getting out of these shows.
No.
So
look, if anybody has an idea on Leslie Headland, the way she does things, Russian doll.
But no, you keep saying that, Dom, but I don't think that's it.
In the flashbacks, how she incorporated them into the whole story to understand the whole story. And this is with this, that,
but you got to understand in this case, so in that case, she was the director and the writer and pretty much the whole series for that. With here, you have different, like even this flashback episode is not directed by her. I don't even know if it's written by her. It might be written by her.
Yeah, so this is the thing, let's put it this way. The flashback, I'm going to go back and look at it again because, like Marco said, there is things in it.
There's a couple of things I told you to go look at.
You have to look at it again, because I noticed some things, but I'm going to go back just to make sure that I catch it on Sunday when I come on Sunday. But
to me, that's
like you said,
that's not really critiquing a show.
No, like I said, and that's where I kind of am getting. Like, I'm trying to say, like, let's take away what we thought or everything else. Let's just say, and to tell you, I did not feel like this episode was out of place. With how much I think that what we're doing right now is a waste of my time. However, I did feel it was a waste of my time watching that show. Right?
No, it's not necessarily that it's a waste of time. It's just that I feel like certain things weren't executed that great.
But there was episodes of Boba Fett that were big ass, and Obi-Wan. Big ass waste of my time.
Well, that's what I said.
Big ass waste of my time.
That's the analogy I was trying to make earlier. When you got to the end of Boba Fett, there were certain things that made it feel like watching those.
It wasn't,
dude.
It wasn't
your time.
We didn't have to wait till the end of Boba Fett or the end of Obi-Wan to be like, "Yo, this shit's a waste of my time." Right?
You don't. That was a huge mistake, putting in a whole following another character for 2 whole episodes out of 8. So hopefully they don't do that here. If I end up following like Cal Naka around for 2 episodes, it's gonna be problems.
Well, look, hopefully next week's episode we get the Kanaka, that part of it, we get to see that scene. But as of right now, as of 3 episodes into the series, I'm still invested.
He's the villain, Dwayne Scott.
I still want to see what happens. It comes because now I'm more intrigued now, seeing the backstory in person instead of hearing it through a story in an episode. I want to see the outcome.
So Ruben has an interesting point there. He says, "I felt the episode was necessary because they wanted us to connect with Osha." I didn't feel that. I didn't get much more connection with either Osha or May out of this episode than. Maybe a little bit more with Osha because you kind of see that her wants and desires, at least what you think she wants and desires, is when she's 8. But I didn't get like this real emotional connection with any of the characters, really. Even Solo.
Connection with the witches.
I thought the witches. I'll be honest. I thought the witches for a majority of the thing. Now the mother Anzaya, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt an emotional connection to her more than anybody out of this entire episode. I don't know about anybody else.
Which one? I'm sorry. Which one was she? Was she the leader or was she the other?
The leader, the one that was more like the parent.
Yeah, the freaking the Zebrak.
Yeah.
I think,
Not
right?
the Zabrak. That's
Not
Mother
the
Quill
Zabrak.
or whatever. The other one.
No, the other one, the mother, yeah, the mother.
The one
Yeah.
that the leader, he said. And why?
Yeah,
did
the
you,
lead-
oh, Jesus.
yeah. It just.
But I thought the
like
witches
all-
chanting and stuff was corny as
Episode
hell.
4. Oh, okay. No. Hey, stop.
All-
Going too deep into it.
All,
Yeah.
It'll be on what's the language for Wookiees? I can't remember.
I did think at one point it started to turn a little musical or like musical-y, and I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah, I know the point you're talking about. Like I was
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
that's not good. That's,
I was not liking that at all. Episode 4, all Wookiee, no English. That'd be hilarious. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's still a lot to do. I think if you were on one side of the fence with the theory you were, I think on another side of the fence you might have lost that theory. I think it wasn't. We overanalyze everything to death, so I think we're like, this. Not all of us, but some people might think this wasn't a necessary episode.
Now that I think about the witches, I'm sticking to 2.5 instead of 3. I'll think about that one.
The musical. Are you talking about the musical scene?
Yes.
You're talking about the musical scene. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm actually moving mine down to 3.5 because of that. Actually, I am. Yeah. The fucking musical.
I keep replaying that in my head after you said it.
Just moving my score down to 3.5 because of that. I hate musicals. But the rest of it I thought was good. I thought a lot of it made. I'm saying as an episode, and I'm just going to finish on this. As an episode, I think it made sense. I didn't think anybody was out of place. They explained why every character once again was there, and it made sense why they were there. Everything made sense from May and her sister and why they were going through what they were going through in this episode, and maybe what was happening in the first 2 episodes. The witch covenant all made perfect sense. They didn't dwell on it. It took 2 lines pretty much. 2 lines. It took a line early or 2 lines early on, and then in another portion why the Jedi were there. It took a couple more lines there, and to explain the conflict, took a couple more lines there, and everything made sense. Obviously, it's a mystery, so if you see something like you said
Not
before,
everything made sense. But we'll get more into that on Sunday.
Okay, well, the majority of it made sense, but if you, without spoiling everything, made sense. They did a very good job of doing that, in my opinion. And all in all, I didn't hate the episode, so there we go. But nobody else did either, so that's about it, except for John. Maybe John said he hated the episode.
He said he gave it a 2. He's not that far off from me. But...
Yeah. Well, you were 3 till we thought about the musical.
Clear minded here. Stop it.
We still know that the kid can't shut his eyes. Do we know that for sure anymore?
He's probably the Sith of the whole thing. That's why he wears the helmet.
I would not.
Keep those eyes wet with the helmet. Don't worry about dry eye syndrome or anything.
John says it's not as good as Mando. What season of Mando? It's better than some
season 3. It's definitely better than season 3 of Mando. I can tell you that.
I don't know why you hate season 3 so much.
I don't like it. I don't like the direction season 3 went. So
all right, so that's it. That's what we got. I'm done with this. We're just going in circles anyways, and we've pretty much turned a non-spoiler to half spoiler. What the fuck's going on in this episode? Good job, guys. Hopefully we won't be doing this next week. Because yeah. All right. Do we have an outro? Anybody have anything else to say? Dom?
I don't know if we have anything prepared for the show.
I like I said, I like the fact the way
you like the fact that we did this just for you because nobody else.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate that.
Okay.
I like the fact that we're all coming up with these theories, man, and things of that. And 9 out of 10 are all going to be wrong, including myself, because I'm always fucking wrong.
Oh, I think I'm wrong too.
But I like the fact that we're pulling all these things out.
John's a Hunter player now.
Eventually, when the truth does come out and we see what really happens, we should be a little like, oh shit, like type of that kind of moment. And I want that. And I feel like this show is going to give us that oh shit moment.
The Kaiser Sose moment. Yeah.
There's 2 types of twists. There's the Kaiser Sose twist that works. And you're like, wow, that was a great twist. There's the M. Night Shyamalan, what a twist, where you're like, ooh, it doesn't work.
What did M. Night Shyamalan do?
Remember Signs, the movie where plants kill everyone?
Yeah, he did that. He also did.
What was the Alien movie with Mel Gibson?
Wahlberg.
Signs
Mark
was
Wahlberg movie?
Signs. No,
Oh,
Signs
Signs.
was the aliens movie.
Yeah,
What I can't remember what the plants killing people movie was, but that was him too.
yeah. He also did the Village. And the Village was the side, right?
The
Yeah,
Village
The
wasn't
Village.
bad.
Yeah, Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense was good.
That was a big hit.
I like Sixth Sense.
Yeah,
Village
the
wasn't
first
bad.
twist was Sixth Sense, and then he kept up with the whole twist thing.
Yeah, but he kept doing it. Was he the one that did the one where
The one where Bruce Willis is a superhero, and I can't remember the name of it now.
Unbreakable.
what was the one that had the guy
Unbreakable,
from
yeah.
Justified in it? Where like some
Justified.
some like alien chemical gets in the water and then people
Oh,
start going
Crazies?
crazy.
I don't think that was him. I don't think
That was
one
good.
him.
I like that one. Okay,
That one
so
wasn't
then
him.
Hey, Kevin, I like the fact you like the Acolyte better than the Andor, Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett, and Kenobi. The Acolyte is good, and I like Andor a lot. So Andor was different because there was no lightsabers.
I like Andor.
It's a different take on Star Wars.
Oh, he also did the live action adaptation of Avatar.
But yeah, the Book of Boba. Me being a Boba Fett fan, yes, the Book of Boba Fett was trash. It was.
Yeah, but hey, I mean, like this is good to see that people. I mean, there are people who like it too, who think it's really good. Let's just hope it finishes off. I still think it's very strong. I mean, it's still very strong.
And I don't mean to compare it to Book of Boba Fett that much, but that's the only thing I can think of Star Wars wise that at this linear stage of episode and flashback So.
No, I think I do think this episode. I will tell you this: this show as a whole, for the first 3 episodes, I think has the pace of the story is a lot faster, which is something that we have complained about in almost all the stories that Kevin Davis there just mentioned. Acolyte, I liked it, or Andor, I liked it, but like it was a build up.
Andor's what 100? It's 50% longer than this. It's what 12 episodes.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's going to be a slower burn.
Look, listen. I like the fact we have lightsabers. I like the fact that there's alien diversity. We see more aliens
like the lightsabers
than Andor. There was no. I kept complaining about the alien in Andor. There was no aliens. So this show is actually giving everything that I've asked for, and
not a spoiler, but a random question. Why do you think the Sith Master wants no weapons? Kill, but also at the same time carries the lightsaber?
You see, I don't know. We gotta find out.
What was that? I didn't hear.
At the end of the first episode, remember when he tells her she has to kill a Jedi with no weapons,
and meanwhile he has a lightsaber.
And meanwhile he has a lightsaber, or the master. I shouldn't say he, but the master has the lightsaber. I'm like,
well, once again,
like when in the history of Star Wars has anybody been killed without a weapon?
Well, once again, I think that's a kind of a take on, like I was saying, the earlier with some of the stuff that was going on in the Aftermath book, where they were giving them these weird tests. Like one of them, the no weapon thing came out of that. Like it literally was one of the things they had to do something without. They had to do something.
You know what's funny? So far, the last the first 2 episodes, right? When this show was first coming on, she said no spaceships and no blasters. There were blasters and there's ships. So a lot of things she says no cameos, no nothing. So we might see something.
You got that Newt Gunray cameo in episode 1.
Yeah, Newt Gunray. That wasn't Newt Gunray, was it?
No.
It could have been.
It might have been. I don't know.
Could have been. You know what's funny? They show somebody this episode, and somebody we've actually seen in the trailer, and we never put 2 to 2 together who that fucking could have been. Which is kind of
because I think I know what you're talking about. But he seems like he's like much older.
Yeah. Well, he is. I mean, he's 60. Yeah.
But the way it was, that's funny.
The way everybody else aged and the way he aged were way different.
That guy was like an alcohol. I think it was really an alcoholic or something. He put some age on him there somehow.
All right. Well, we said we are gonna get out of here 10 minutes ago. Oh, dude, that would have been funny. Johnson said he wished that she accidentally turned it on. Okay, before the chat spills everything. Yeah. All right, we'll see y'all later. We're going to peace out. Well, with that, we're going to consider this.